So what is it they mean when they say God has a plan for everyone? When I first heard this phrase, I was an atheist and I argued with it. I said, okay, well, let's take the most extreme case. Sometimes babies die of incurable diseases. Does God mean that, huh? Does he? Does he? And the person talking to me really didn't have a response for that. No, I was kind of a jerk back in the day. But anyway, I've been thinking a great deal about this question in recent times because I've been going through some personal struggle. And I have to ask myself, what does it mean? Because, frankly, my Christian friends disagree. You know, some of them take a very literalist interpretation. They say, you know, when I ran out of rent, you know, God paid my rent, you know, he found a way. Or, you know, when I can't find a parking place or when I lose something, you know, God guides me toward it. And, you know, that's the literalist interpretation that is most foreign to my original scientific upbringing. And then there are people with a slightly different way of thinking about it. And, you know, that God, you know, has a plan for our spiritual development, that, you know, perhaps the world is not entirely controlled by God, that the enemy has a say as well, but that God is there for us and loving us and with us in misfortune, and he plans to turn evil into good as best he can. And I think that's the more mainstream interpretation per se. And when misfortune happened to me, my husband said, well, you know, I'm sure God's looking out for you. And I said, well, you know, I'm sure he's looking out for me to spiritually grow. Is he going to undo this fortune? I'm not so sure. And then as a joke, my husband sort of paused and he's like, you're right. God's a jerk, which was obviously a joke. But you know, he may not be a jerk, but he does seem to be able to be quite ruthless at times. But I do believe that ruthlessness is to a purpose, and that we wouldn't be going through the pain and suffering of the world unless there was a reason for it. I had another thought just now, which is that, okay, Jesus was crucified. Paul, who was the main builder of the early church, he has this horrifying passage about being run out of town, threatened with death, threatened with mutilation, being put out of windows inside of baskets and lowered to the ground in a basket because people are so determined to kill him. That's the only way he can escape. And so it really doesn't seem for God's favorite people, his goal particularly has been to preserve them from suffering. It seems more like he's trusted his favorite people to do amazing service, and he's known he has the power to, you know, protect them through that suffering, however extreme it may be. So if you're looking for comfort, perhaps there's comfort in that. I don't mean to be cheating you of answers or anything, but the point of this is I don't have the answers. Okay, let's start. What is happiness? What is meaning? You know, is happiness being safe and having plenty to eat? Or is happiness knowing you're doing something important? And what is the price of doing something important? You know, those questions may lead somewhere, I'm not sure.